Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to ROI number 77. Blender's Word HDRIs look great until you need control. So in this tutorial, we are building a fully custom Dome HDRI, a physical environment where the HDRI lives inside geometry. The shadows actually work, the ground blends smoothly into the sky, and where you can scatter objects inside your world. So instead of relying on Blender's Word HDRIs, we are making our own 3D Dome HDRI. You will learn how to model and prepare the dome, fix normals using backfacing for correct interior visibility, set up the emission-based HDRI projection, create a separate ground material for realistic shadows, build a smooth gradient mask to blend sky and ground perfectly, and tweak the emission to control the overall scene lighting. By the end, you will have a fully functional Dome HDRI environment that works with shadows, supports assets, and gives you a fake but incredibly realistic lighting setup, perfect for cinematic renders. So without any further ado, let's get this going. So to start, press Shift A in the mesh, add a UV sphere. Then from the adjustment menu, set the segments on 64. Which gives us much more geometry to work with. Now for the scale of it, press S, type down 20. The scale of it totally depends on the other elements, like the HDRI that you choose, the scale of the other objects, and so on. But no worries, because you can always get back to it and adjust it. Now press numpad 1 to go into front view, press tab to go into edit mode, and make sure to enable the wireframe mode. Select the bottom half of the vertices, press X and delete them. Then let's get over here, hold down the Alt key, click on this edge to make a loop select. Press F to fill, then press I to give them an inset like so. This looks fine. Press X to delete the face in the middle. Again, make a loop select over here. This time press Ctrl F, choose grid fill. Let's tweak the offset a little bit to get a better result. Yeah, this is looking decent. Then make a loop select over here, press Ctrl B to give it a bevel. Scroll forward to increase the segments. Something like that looks nice. Let's get back into object mode, switch back into solid view, right click to shade auto smooth. And to get a smoother result, go to the modifiers panel and give it the subdivision surface modifier. Set both levels on 2. The next step is to find a way to be able to view the interior part from outside. I mean, from here, we be able to see the inside of it. And for that, we can take advantage of the backfacing property. So open the shading drop-down menu and here you can see the backface culling. If we enable that, nothing will actually happen for the time being. The reason is the normals. So let's turn it off for now and from the overlays menu, enable the face orientation. Now if we go inside this dome, we can see that it is red. And that's pretty fine. I mean, its normals are correct. But in our case, we need them to be inverted. So to do that, go into edit mode, press A to select everything, then press Alt N and from the normals menu choose flip. So they are inverted. Disable face orientation and enable backfacing. There you have it. Now it is working the way we want it to. Next up, we should make the material, which is the most important part of the process. So go into render panel, set the render engine on cycles and device on GPU compute, then switch into rendered view. The first thing you may notice is the backfacing is not working in the rendered view. We will fix that when we are making the material. So let's expand the timeline and switch it into shader editor. Make a new material for the dome and rename it to Sky. By the way, press F2 and rename this sphere to Dome. Let's make the material. So first delete principal BSTF and add an emission node. Plug it into the material output. Now we should add the HDRI. I'm going to use this HDRI. If you like to follow up, the link to download it will be in the description. So to add our HDRI, Shift A, search for Environment Texture. Plug it into the emission node. Then click on Open and navigate to where you have downloaded the HDRI. Select it and then open Image. And there you have it. But before adjusting it, let's enable the backfacing because this is really important. So add a mix shader and drop it after the emission node. Then for the bottom shader input, add a transparent node, not translucent, transparent. Then add a geometry node. Place it up here, and from here you can see the backfacing output. Plug it into the factor on the mix shader, and there you have the backfacing. Now let's start adjusting the material. So select the environment texture, press Ctrl T to use the Node Wrangler add-on. And instead of generated, use object. Now we can fix the stretching issue by slightly decreasing the Z location. See how cool and real it looks. There is a minor issue over here. If we add an object inside the dome, you can see there is no shadow here, and that's actually a pretty big issue. The reason is this emission node. So what we are going to do is something like this. We should separate the ground part of the dome and tweak its material. So let's switch into solid view. Select the dome and go into edit mode, and for the time being disable the backfacing. Let's get down over here, select this vertex in the middle, and by the way, to have a clear look, press Ctrl and numpad 7. Then hold down Ctrl, press the plus key to increase the selection until you have a selection like this. Then go to the material panel and make a new material. From the existing materials drop-down menu, choose the sky material. Then click on the number. Why isn't that available? We should switch into object mode. Yeah. Click on number 2 to make it a unique material and rename it to ground. Again, switch into edit mode. Make sure you have the selection. With the ground material selected, click on assign so that these vertices will have the ground material. Now let's go into object mode and switch back into rendered view. Make sure the ground material is selected. Go ahead and delete the emission node, and instead of that, add a diffuse BSDF and make the connection like so. Now if we give it a shot, yeah, the objects now can cast shadow, and this will make the result much more realistic. However, since we are using the diffuse node, we have ended up with a sharp edge, and to remove that, there is a few adjustments. We should make a gradient mask for the sky material. So duplicate the mix shader and place it before the first one. Add a diffuse node, plug it both into environment texture and the mix shader. Then select the mapping node, press Shift Ctrl D to make a duplicate while keeping the connection. Move it up over here now to decide where we want that gradient mask. Add a separate XYZ. Make the connection, then Ctrl Shift click on it 3 times to look through the Z axis. And this is already exactly what we want. To adjust it even more, of course we can tweak the Z location on the mapping node. I guess something like that could work. Then to adjust the sharpness of it, we can add a color ramp after the separate XYZ. And if you want to use the color ramp, make sure to switch it into ease. And here you have it. Now let's plug the mix shader into material output and then plug the color ramp into the factor on the mix shader. And it is working exactly the opposite. So add an invert color node and place it after the color ramp. And there you have it working nicely. Here is the point. Since we are not using an HDRI to light up the scene, the strength property in the world panel is not going to work. Even if you add an HDRI now, again it is not going to work, because the light cannot go through this dome, because it is an object. But to affect the light, we can tweak the emission node. As easy as that. So this was the process on how to make a Dome HDRI in order to get a fake realistic environment. You can use any HDRI, and from this point you only need to add some assets like trees, plants, rocks and other stuff that fit your HDRI. You can add them manually and place them in the dome. Here is a very good tip. A while ago I released the hyper-realistic forest series. You can use the same method here, which will give you a very good result. The link to the series will be in the description. But before that, let me give you an important tip. Select the dome and go into edit mode. Make sure the ground part is selected. Press P and separate them by selection, which means now it is a separated object. So now you can use this tutorial to scatter different assets inside the dome. By the way, you can download this dome. The link will be in the description. So, see you next time.